Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on episode number 17 of Blowin' Wind with the Great Southern Brain Fart. I can't believe it, man. Time flies, but I'm telling you, we're having a great time. I'm having a great time, and so far the guests seem to be enjoying it. I haven't received any cease and desist orders, so everything must be going pretty well. This time around, we're talking to Scott Moughton. You guys might know Scott from his role as Geoff Tate's right-hand man in Operation Mindcrime over the past few years. Operation Mindcrime turned out a trilogy of albums that consisted of The Key, Resurrection, and capped things off with The New Reality. Scott was also featured on Geoff Tate's debut solo album, which was, again, another outstanding creation from Geoff's part that totally showed another side of his creativity. Scott was really gracious enough to take the time out from their busy tour schedule while cruising down the road on their awesome tour bus to talk to little old me, and we talked about his humble beginnings as a jazz guitar player, we talked about his relationship with Geoff Tate, and we talked about just why he is not tired of playing the Operation Mindcrime album in its entirety, night after night. This was a really fun interview and a really great way to get to know somebody that, that we know very little about. So get comfortable, hang out, and enjoy getting to know Scott Moughton of Operation Mindcrime and Geoff Tate. So let's do this right here on Blowin' Wind with the Great Southern Brain Fart. Scott, welcome to Blowin' Wind with the Great Southern Brain Fart. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I always get a little chuckle at the name. People don't know what to make of it, but you know.
Yeah, it cracks me up every time I look at it.
Well, you know, it was funny when Geoff and I had a talk about this when we first talked a few years back, and said, you know, it's always important to create an identity for yourself. And this was a nickname that was kind of given to me by a couple of friends. And I said, you know, if I'm going to do a blog, I want to make sure that it's the only one that comes up when someone goes to Google it. So if you ever Google it, I'm the first one you'll get. So.
Absolutely. It's awesome. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. You're on quite an extensive tour right now with Geoff and the boys. So This is a whole new lineup, though, from what I'm used to seeing you with in the past.
It is. It's a bunch of young guys, and they're from Europe.
So how is that? Because there's so much I want to ask you about you and everything, but I figured we would just start off with this. But like, just when you get comfortable, like how hard is that for you? Because pretty much now you are Geoff's right-hand man, and so to go from a lineup that was pretty solid, even though there were some changes here and there always seems to be a level of consistency to it. So with a whole new lineup like this, how was it for you, and how hard was it to get reacquainted with the material, with new people and whatnot?
Well, it's always difficult, especially with this particular album we're doing. But Geoff kind of put me in charge of getting this squared away when he hired them. Mm-hmm. So we went to Ireland before we kicked off the European tour and rehearsed for a week in Ireland with these guys. And, we had 14-hour days, and it was just, a lot of nitpicking because, there's so much subtleties in Queensryche material, and especially that album, and so there was a lot of, a lot of fun, a little bit of frustration, but, but I made it fun. Geoff put me in charge of making sure it was all good, because he generally doesn't like to hang out at rehearsals while stuff's getting worked out. So it was up to me to make sure everything was cool for when he came to the final set of rehearsals. So, but yeah, it was just I get kind of used to it. We've had a lot of member changes because it just says it's not really a band, it's a project, and it doesn't really matter so much who's playing as long as they're capable, right? And so it just we found some really young guys that were talented, and you just had to do a little bit of molding, get them whipped into shape. But they did real well. I'm real proud of them. They're they're like 20, 22-year-old kids, and for them it's just a dream come true. And for me, it's fun to watch them shine, doing what they love to do.
See, and that's absolutely amazing, because when Geoff and I spoke for our podcast interview, one of the things he had pointed out to me was that he was talking to Alice Cooper, and he was asking Alice Cooper, so how do you do this? And Alice said, I work with young people all the time. They always kind of keep the fire under me, and they really push me. And I have to say, I mean, I've been a Queensryche fan since '88. I've been a Geoff fan through his solo albums, through all the incarnations of Operation Mindcrime, and that show that I saw the other night was by far the best I've seen since Queensryche, in my opinion. There was just so much energy and so much passion and fire, and it really came through in the performance.
So can I just Yeah, that's the youth energy that it pushes us to be a little more a little less complacent, I guess it would be the right word for it, on stage. And so and it's fun to be able to interact with these young kids, and it kind of brings back my fire from my youth as a musician.
Well, because that's what I was going to say, was you really seemed to shine a lot more than I'd seen you in the previous shows that I've seen you do, and it was really cool to see you really kind of coming out front and really embracing your role, really. Oh,
maybe it was the tight leather pants too.
It's like I gotta get out of these. I don't know how you do it. I couldn't get my arm in one of those, to be honest. I mean, so you're doing something right, man, I guess.
Oh, it's a struggle every night, I tell
you. Well, so I know you also had some experience in the past playing with, and I get the poor chap's name wrong all the time. Is it Kieran? Kieran, yes, the guitar. But when you guys did the acoustic tour,
yeah.
So. Going back to the acoustic tour, which is something I wanted to ask you about, how was that for you going into the Queensryche material for that? Because being primary electric stuff, Geoff really took that down to the bones. And I was curious, from your standpoint as a guitar player, were there some unexpected challenges there with bringing that music down to the core?
There was a lot of unexpected challenges. I'll give you a little backstory on that. When Geoff decided to do the acoustic tour, she had found a young Irish band, Street Buskers. And I thought that would be really cool to have these extra, different instruments like cello, violin, and whatnot. And then he came to me, and when I was in Seattle with him, and he said, "This is my song list, and this is what I want to do. Can you help, or can you convert it to acoustic?" So I spent a couple months in my studio experimenting. And then I kind of recorded with acoustic what like two different acoustic guitars. So there was going to be two acoustic basic ways of converting it. So I spent a lot of time. Some of them translated really easily. Others were quite a challenge. But I just worked with it, and then I recorded final versions, and then I sent them off to the kids in Ireland, and then they took it from there. And then we showed up for rehearsals, and they had it all down. It was pretty good.
So what were the more challenging ones? Because I would assume it would be the less obvious ones. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure silent lucidity and things like that were less challenging than whatever. But what were the ones that were the more challenging to really bring it into that core?
You didn't make me remember the song list. I can't.
What I do remember is I remember like you guys opened that tour with Walk in the Shadows, and I remember thinking to myself, that is not what I expected. You know,
that was one of them. That was one of the ones that was took a little work on, and first then there's that crazy solo in the middle that we had to figure out a way to do it, but make it sound like it, but make it playable on an acoustic. So that was difficult. You believe it or not, another one that was difficult was Silent City, because the song is, it's beautiful and it's got all these ethereal orchestra, but it was going to be missing that. And Geoff says, how can we replace that and make it presentable? So you hear some of these string melodies and whatnot. We did have a violin to take care of some of it, but what I did was I created a whole other guitar part that for the second guitar to play that did a lot of the string melodies, but arpeggiating on an acoustic guitar. And so that was difficult. That was one that took me a few days to actually put together. And so it actually wasn't obvious. It was an obvious song for acoustic, but it wasn't, obvious to sound the same. Because without the strings, the song is really kind of almost, I don't want to say generic, that's the wrong word, but it's lacking the swells and just the beauty of the song. It gets stripped down to just the guitar riff, which is cool, but after a while it kind of, it doesn't go anywhere without that orchestra.
It's almost like it's too sparse,
Exactly.
That's so funny, because I never would have thought about that, because as much as I've listened to that song, as much as I've loved that, it's kind of like listening to I would say what you would consider a simple Pink Floyd song, like Comfortably Numb or whatever. But if you stripped that down to acoustic, it would not, even though it sounds like, I could pull that off, it without all those layers, you're missing a lot of the dynamic and a lot of the meat there,
Yeah. And there's melodies in there that you don't realize that you know that hook of that melody until it's gone, and it's like, oh, I was expecting to hear that there. And it's one of those songs that really requires everything, and so it was a real challenge to of course we had a violin and a cello,
right,
that helped, but it's not the fullness of the full orchestra, obviously.
I just thought that tour was such a brilliant tour, and I would love to see him do it again. I told them, even myself, I said, I hope you recorded some of those shows, because to me that was like probably the ultimate way to see that music presented. And being a fan for so long, when you can see the music, Geoff even told me himself that when him and Chris DeGarmo were writing for Empire, that DeGarmo basically was just like, we need to make these songs so that they can be played on any instrument and any capacity, and I never thought about Queensryche's music like that, because to me it's so full of color and so vivid, and then so to hear it so stripped down, it just seemed so natural.
Yeah, it was and I mean, it totally makes sense, knowing DeGarmo, like the way he was. He was very into classical music and whatnot, so I know that he used some of his love for classical music in writing Queensryche stuff. And even when you strip it down to acoustic, it still shows, and it creates a lot of melody for Geoff to be able to sing over. And that's why the Queensryche songs are so good.
So you guys are on the 30th anniversary tour of Mindcrime. Of course, a lot of people, whatever you want to call them, haters, keyboard warriors, whatever, they're all like, oh my God, he's milking it again. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody dogs on Roger Waters for doing The Wall a million times. But anyway, like, from your perspective, did you go into it thinking, not again, or like, was it more like, I'm actually looking forward to this?
Oh, I was looking forward to it. It's my favorite set to play. It's just so fun, and it's the way it flows, throughout the show. And every night when we get to the end of the album section, it's like, wow, it's over already. It goes by so fast for me because it's so fun to play.
I felt that way as an audience member because a lot of my friends that I was talking to, that especially some friends I knew that were going to the show, we were all talking about how equally excited we were because we were like, how can you complain about hearing one of your favorite all-time albums played live? And not only played live, but played extremely well live, Like, it's such a rare occasion. I mean, it would be, it's, and I know Geoff said that this was going to be the last time that he was possibly going to do this, and that this was also, from what I understand, the last run as Operation Mindcrime. Now, are you going to continue your work with Geoff in the future, or is this kind of end of the road for you, or is it kind of like, no comment, Don, can't talk about it?
It's definitely not the end of the road because I've been with Geoff off and on since 1999. I did a solo album back then. I did a charity album called Stone Cold Queen, where it was a group of famous guitar player singers that did an aid thing, playing a bunch of Queen songs. I've done the 3 Operation Mindcrime albums with him, and him and I were just talking yesterday. I'm going to be sending him more song material on my break I got coming up this fall. So I don't know. Geoff isn't sure exactly what we're going to be doing in the future, but I've been a part of it for so long that I'm sure that you'll still be stuck with me.
Well, I kind of love that because I feel like Geoff, as amazing as he is, he benefits from having a right-hand man. And obviously you've been his go-to guy, like you said, through the Trinity albums and then with the solo material. I personally would love to see Geoff go out and do some of that solo material that I have not even had a chance to hear him do yet. I mean, he's got 2 absolutely amazing solo records. I mean, just nudge him on that one for me.
I'm not so sure I want to.
Oh, well, tell me.
No, I'm kidding. I did not say that.
You're like, erase that, dude.
No, it's good material and it's fun to play too. What I really want to do, and Geoff also expressed the same interest, is eventually here do a run, probably a limited run, because it would be so theatrical and it would be so kind of a long show. Is do the trilogy in its entirety.
Oh, now that would be really great because I love those albums.
So that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, and so it would require certain venues to do it and whatnot. So, it probably wouldn't be a full tour. But, there's lots of options out there for the future.
It just seems like that with Geoff being on, which, to be totally honest, I was one of those folks that was heartbroken when the whole Queensryche split happened, but I was always very heavily linked and connected, on an emotional level to Geoff and to Chris DeGarmo. So when Geoff kind of broke off, I almost felt like to me, it was for the best, it felt like, because all of a sudden I felt like he just had this outpouring of art that was maybe a little too contained by Queensryche, where like now he can be Geoff. He can do his thing, and his thing is pretty fucking fantastic, to be honest,
Yeah, well, he was, being with the same group of guys for many years kind of puts you in a little bit of a box. Now, don't get me wrong, Queensryche was excellent at adapting, changing, And,
Oh, yeah.
And Geoff was just telling me the other day that they were when they went to the Here Now Frontier and Promised Land albums, they changed quite a bit. And people would be saying, like, "Where's the guitars?" But the songs are full of guitars. They were like, "Where more?" I think they were thinking more like, "Where's all the chunky type guitars?" And but they just, and I was asking them, I said, "Did you change because of the times were changing?" He said, "No, we just were doing things to please ourselves and what we like." And so we were just kind of expanding our horizons. So that was kind of an interesting story. I didn't even know it. I've known Geoff since 1989.
See, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's so cool to hear, because I told Geoff once that my favorite Queensryche album was Promised Land, and he was like, "Why?" And all of a sudden I kind of felt put on the spot, but I told him, I said, because when Promised Land came out, I was really turning into an adult. I was I was coming into my own as a person. I was not far from leaving home for the first time, and technology was coming in. So to me, that album personified everything that I was experiencing as I watched the world grow. So I'm 44. So when that album came out, when I was in my early 20s, I was just old enough. I wasn't a teenager, and I wasn't a full-fledged grown-up, but I was watching the world grow and change in a way that album was kind of the soundtrack to that change. Do you know what I mean? And
I do.
So when I explained that to him, he said, "I never thought about it that way, but that's like one of my least favorite records." And I was like, "Well, it's still mine." So
that era of Queensryche has one of my favorite songs. My favorite Queensryche song is "Out of Mind." I think that song is genius. And so there was a lot of, when they expanded to doing different things, I don't know, I got even more attached to Queensryche myself.
See,
because they expanded and a whole bunch of different things. And I personally I grew up on a jazz background and stuff like that. And so for me, I like variety itself. And so I really appreciated them even more as their career progressed.
So I tried to find information on you, and you're a pretty tough guy to find some info on. So I'm curious to find out. So where did your journey begin, as far as being a musician and doing what you do?
Oh man, that's a long story. I'll be 55 here in February, and I got my first guitar at 5. So it'll be my 50 years of playing guitar here shortly. And
wow,
I don't know. I grew up playing jazz. I love jazz. My dad loved jazz, and so I took 16 years of jazz lessons as a kid, and a little bit of classical and Spanish flamenco. So, but I started playing, especially in 1979, playing at high school dances. I was 14 years old.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I did that, and then did the typical thing what everybody does. I started playing bars at 18 and whatnot. And I think I was 32. I was in a blues band called the Voodoo Roosters that put out 2 records. And we had power horn section playing with us. And we were on AAA radio for a little while, but Geoff kind of, we were acquainted back then, but he kind of became, I don't want to say a fan because he's never actually said that, but he used to, I don't want to put it out there, but he learned all our material and would come out and do cameo appearances on saxophone with our horn section. And
that's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
So that's kind of how I really got involved with him. And then when the record industry tanked, we lost our record deal, and then he called me up. I was about ready to retire. It's like, I don't want to start over with a new band and try and go through all that again. And he called me up about 3 months after he disbanded, and he asked me, "Hey, you want to write and record a solo album with you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah!" So
like, sign me up.
and so that's when we started the solo project. And then I've been around with him off and on. I was a guitar tech for a while for Geoff Tate, Queensryche, and then when he put together the Operation Mindcrime, he called me up and offered me a job.
Man,
so
yeah.
I've been around for a while with Geoff. It's been a long time relationship.
That has got to be probably one of the greatest Reader's Digest versions of a story that I've heard, because you covered all the bases, man, and I was like, that's great. That's a great story, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long one, but I try to condense it for you.
Well, so as a jazz guy, when did hard rock and metal music really grab your attention?
Oh, when I was like 10. I was one of those guys that I was listening to Maiden and Priest and all that with my friends, and but then I go home and put on my Billy Cobham album and listen to jazz. I was also a big Closet Funk fan. I listened to Parliament and bands like that too, but I never told my friends, because they were like, "Who are you?"
It's so yeah. I love that. I love hearing it.
Like I said, I'm just a guy who's into variety, so I like a lot of different stuff.
I love hearing that so much, because I can't tell you how many different artists, especially, because I talk to a lot of hard rock and metal bands, and even though, my podcast and my website covers a spectrum from I've talked to everybody from, Captain Beyond and Roger Manning of Jellyfish to members of Exodus, so if I love it, I talk to them. But what I always love is that there's this common thread amongst musicians, that they have this love and appreciation for music that they don't play. So it was super interesting to me to hear, to be sitting in the back of the bus with the drummer from Exodus and him going, "Open Arms by Journey is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my entire life." And then hearing the keyboard player from Jellyfish, who was a 90s pop guy, talking about how he used to go to Dead Kennedy shows in San Francisco and stand next to James Hetfield from Metallica. So, but I love hearing that, because I think it shows that as musicians, especially when there's a broad palette of appreciation, that it bleeds into your craft, not even just into your listening.
Absolutely. I think every accomplished musician, experienced musician, you've got to like it, all styles of music. You have to to be that accomplished, really, because even when you write, even some metal bands will put the occasional classical themes in there, or even something little jazzy. And it's them trying to throw something a little extra in that they enjoy, and that they don't normally do, because maybe the fans might not enjoy it as much as you do, but it's like a need almost. That you gotta put something else in there sometimes, And with Geoff, it's really easy to do, because he just doesn't care. He loves everything, and it's like, I remember when we did the first solo band. It's like, so we were getting together and trying to write. So what kind of style of music do you want to do? Just anything you've got. I don't care what style it is. Just throw it at me, and we'll see if anything sticks. And so that was eye-opening for me when I first started working with him, and it's been like that ever since. Writing for him is a joy.
Well, because that's also to me, that's a sign of a true artist who doesn't expect to reside within a box, and they can say things like that. Just, hey, give me what you got, and if it's something that we can work with, let's do it. And even if it's something we can't work with it, let's challenge ourselves and try to see if we can.
Exactly. And, this whole thing has come about over the last 20 years of the genre. And Geoff is really trying to emphasize this to me, and that's one of the things I love about him, is that genres, the word genre, or the concept of genre, is created by the media. It's like they're trying to put you in a box. And you know, like, are you metal? Are you prog rock? Are you, you know, death metal and black metal? It's like all these different things. It's like, what are you talking about? You know, that's the way I look at it. It's like, you know, I'll listen to some of those different genres and go, I can't tell a difference. You know, what are you talking about? It's rock.
See, that's so funny, because that's why if you go to my website, it says metal, hard rock, classic, psych, occult. They're like the broadest of the genres that I could come up with, because to me, like, metal is metal, like occult rock is its own thing, psychedelic rock is its own thing, you know. But like when I started here, I get so many emails from publicists asking me to cover bands of like subgenres of subgenres. Like I got one time that was blackened death metal. I'm like, what is that? Like a death metal band, seasoned and grilled? I don't know. I mean, I don't understand. Like, are you death metal? Are you black metal? Like, what? You know, it's this whole creation of, like you said, of little boxes to put things in, and I hate that, to be honest, because I hate having to put a title to something. You know.
Me too. It's like, what is it? You sprinkle some Cajun spice on it? I don't know.
That's actually what I said too. The publicist wasn't so entertained when I said that, but it was, hey, you know, I was like, hey, you sent it to me, so it's open game here. You know?
Absolutely.
Well, so you've done the Trinity albums, which, again, like I said, I felt like really should have gotten a lot more attention, because I thought they were really fantastic, and you know, and Geoff has that kind of mind to be able to do that. So you've done the Trinity albums, you've done the Mindcrime album, you've done the acoustic tour. Is there a Queensryche song that you have yet to play that you're just like, Geoff, come on, man, let's just do this one. Let's do this one.
Yeah, I think so. I actually did the song once in a solo tour, but we changed it so drastically that it wasn't the same song, and it's Lady Jane.
Oh, what an amazing song.
I love that song. But I haven't been able to commit to that. There's still time.
There's plenty of time. Look, and trust me, if you want, I'll even send you some suggestions through Facebook that you can just be like, oh, by the way, so and so wants to hear this. You know?
Sure.
Well,
sure, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, right.
I'll take any ammo I can get.
Be like, oh, by the way, Geoff, Don wants you to play, Promised Land in its entirety, and I'm sure I'll get blacklisted from every show after that. But although I still stand behind that. That's such an incredible record, you know. But
it really is a good record.
You know,
I agree.
But of the songs that you have played, what have you found that you find yourself connected with more so, like where you find a kind of, you know, and I hate to go there because, you know, it encompasses so many things, but almost kind of an emotional / spiritual connection with. And when I mean spiritual, I don't necessarily mean religious, but do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
This kind of like strong feeling. What song or songs do you feel that with when you play?
When we did the acoustic tour, it's definitely Out of Mind. I love that song. It's my favorite song, but not only that, the lyrics are outstanding. Story itself.
It made me cry when I heard that acoustic,
chilling,
by the way.
Chilling, yeah. And, so that's probably the one that I'd say that really gets me every time I play it.
Mm-hmm. That's such a beautiful tune, and it's like one of those standout tracks from that album that just, whenever I hear it, you just get that goosebump, you know, like all over your body.
Exactly. And there's another song called Way of the World that we did on the last summer's run, and it's about a dear friend of Jeff's and mine. And I didn't know that's what the song is about, and until one day he announced it in the Curious show, and it was after for the rest of that run, I could barely stopped from like tearing up, knowing that it was about our friend who had a heart attack, and it brought massive meaning to that song for me, and it has a really long guitar solo at the end, and I played the crap out of that solo differently. I think I was able to pour my feelings for that song playing. It's a long song, so as it built up to that solo, I just get all these emotions around it. And I actually had somebody videotape a couple of them because I wanted to see the translator. It was really an emotional song for me to play, and it probably always will be.
That's amazing, because that must have been an amazing feeling for you to feel that change once you knew what the song was about.
It was profound. I mean, I don't think I've ever had that big of a change of heart about a song in my life. And once I found out what it was about, it's like, oh my God, that's what this is about. And, nobody ever told me. I've known the gentleman for many, many years, and he never told me, and neither did Geoff. And he said it one day on stage, and it's like, I could barely play the song for that day.
Let me tell you, as a songwriter and as a musician myself, like, those are the moments that you almost pray for. Like, I'm not even religious, and I would love a moment where I could play a song that was written by somebody else that I didn't know, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like, it was a revelation where I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's got to be the most incredible feeling.
It was. I think I went into shock for a moment.
Like, what a way to put you on the spot, though, right there.
I literally could not sing my backup harmonies that day. Every time I went to sing them, I was all choked up, and nothing came out. It's like, oh my gosh. I just couldn't. I was just like, it was beautiful, but it was also like shocking.
That's an incredible story, Scott. I am so glad you shared that. I mean, these are the kind of stories that make me love what I do, is when I get to hear someone share something like that. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It was really something that I don't think I'll ever experience again.
So what's next for you guys? So you guys are like, what, halfway through the tour at this point? You've still got a little ways to go, right?
Yeah, not quite. Well, it depends if you include the 2 Europe runs we've already done. But if you include those, it's over the halfway mark. For the summer run, I think we got 4 more shows this run, and then we're taking a quick break in July, and then back out in August.
Oh, fantastic! Great. So you guys will do some more of that, and then probably off into secret land where we won't hear anything until we'll get little blips of news every now and then?
Well, we're heading back to Europe for a run again in November, December, I think. And Geoff's in 2019 doing a little. He did a guest appearance with a band called Adaptation out of Europe. And,
oh yes, I'm familiar. Yeah, Tobias Sammet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's going off to do some touring with them for a bit, and so nothing gets booked out that far. So I have no idea when he gets back what's going to be going on after that. I usually find out on our Facebook page where we're going once the booking agent releases the date. So stuff doesn't get booked out, a year in advance. It's usually like 4 to 5, 6 months out. So I don't know yet what's going on for 2019 other than that.
That's funny. I actually have a friend of mine who's in a band which will remain unnamed, where he actually texted me once and said, "Is there any way you can go on our Facebook page and tell me if we're playing this city?" Because the tour dates went out before they texted him, and he was just like, "Somebody just asked me if we're playing this, and I can't get Facebook up on my phone. Can you tell me if we're playing in Austin or something like that?" And I was thinking to myself, like, that's the craziest shit I've ever heard, man.
Well, I'm sure it's not uncommon, actually. A lot of the times, the booking process with the management and all that stuff, they get so wrapped up in what's going on, and sometimes forget to let us know. but I'll find out within a day. But it's it's kind of funny. It does happen.
Well, so in the time being, what's on the plate for you? I mean, do you kind of envision yourself doing some other projects, maybe some solo stuff, or are you just going to kind of hang tight? So what is Scott going to do with himself?
Actually, I have two projects that I'm involved with, trying to get some stuff done on the road. It's kind of hard, but I'm working on with Kelly Gray. He was one of the former guitar players of Queensryche, and he was in Operation Mindcrime up until last year.
Yeah,
he's working on a solo project of his own, and he's asked me to do some playing with him, hopefully collaborating too. And I'm also working on this may sound crazy, but a musical.
Really? Well, what can you tell me about that?
It's still in its infancy stages, and Kelly Gray's also involved in this. And a guy named Mike Ferguson. It's kind of I can give you an overview. It's kind of a story about a flagging musician that trying to fight the has-been blues, I guess you would call it. But I don't have a script for it yet. It's still being written, and I just know the overview, and so it's a long process. It's probably 2 years out before it's presentable to anybody.
Oh, that's cool. So you're involved in the score, basically, like scoring the music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of work. It's the first time I've been involved with something this extensive, and it's a lot of work.
I was just gonna say, I did some work one time with another musician years ago for a soundtrack for a documentary. It was like a very independent documentary, and that is not the kind of musical work I thought I was ever going to do. And needless to say, I've never done it again. I was like, because I just remember going, you turn something in, and the guy would come back, and he'd be like, "I need something more sad," and I'd be like, more sad? Like, I can't translate that into music, you know? You need to tell me a little more about that, you know? So.
That actually reminds me of something that might be relevant. When Geoff first put together this Operation Mindcrime, we took a year we were trying to write all three albums at the same time. We came close, but it didn't quite make it. But I was like, well, I had no idea what the storyline was, and he wasn't really at that point wanting to divulge much about it. So it's like, well, how do I write something I don't know what the story's going to be? He said to me, well, how about this? Write me 3 sad songs, write me 3 angry songs, and write me 3 happy songs. And so I went back to my studio and it was like, okay. And so then I just started coming up with stuff, and I named them like Angry 1, Angry 2, Angry 3. And and then I just sent them MP3s of it, saying, and it just started, and I wrote 48 songs in that year. Just threw them at them to see if anything stuck, and they all had crazy weird names like that. And so it was kind of funny in hindsight thinking about it, but you just reminded me of that by saying that.
That's interesting, though. That's another great little tidbit that because, and then to hear them manifest into something must have been really cool, you know?
Oh yeah, and the funny thing was, is when I sent them to him, I had a vision in my mind of how the song might go, you know. And sometimes I would, listen to certain artists to inspire me for something, a certain emotion that maybe that artist created in me. Then not that I was copying them, just trying to get the vibe. And then I'd send it to him saying, okay, this is going to be a heavy rocking song. It'll be really cool. And then it comes back to me. I don't hear anything of it. I don't even know if he's going to use these songs. And then all of a sudden he'll send me something back saying, what do you think? And he had taken it somewhere completely different than I would thought. But the thing is, it was always cooler than what I had in mind originally. And it's like I didn't see it coming. It's like, wow, that just blew my mind. And sometimes I like when I go into record my tracks, the final track and stuff, and they'd send me the reworked versions where Geoff and Kelly had chopped them apart, and I didn't even recognize my own song at first. Because it had been so altered. But to me, I'm not one of those guys that cares about that. As long as the song turns out, really good, I don't care what you do to it. My idea. And so sometimes I was like, oh, I wonder who wrote this. And then like 20 seconds into the song, it's like, oh, I did.
And it's so funny because I talk about this with my band a lot also because I'm the songwriter in my band and I bring the songs to them, and I'm not a bassist and I'm not a drummer, and those two are very skilled musicians and very schooled musicians, and they're very good at what they do, and sometimes some of the things they come up with are completely change the mood, change everything about the direction of the song where I thought it was going to go. And my thought is always, what's best for the song is what's more important. The song is way more important than my ego. You know what I mean? So I think that's cool that you have that mentality.
Yeah, I think songs that are written by one guy only. There are definitely exceptions. There's some outstanding songwriters that don't apply, but I think you're throwing away dimensions that could be added to the song by saying no, it's my way or the highway on my song.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I formed a band in the first place, because I'm such a simplistic musician. So I play in a roots rock band, kind of folk rock stuff. And,
fun.
And I love it. And I've been playing that kind of music for, over 20 years now. But being a simplistic musician, playing with musicians who are very skilled is a treat for me. Because it's almost like I tell people, I feel like I give them a line drawing and they bring me back like a Picasso, and I'm like, wow, you did that you came up with all that for this song. Like, okay, and that's great. I'm happy with that, So as a writer, I love seeing the song, flourish, and become something.
Exactly, and especially since the Operation Mindcrime has always been termed a project. It's a project, the group mind, and so you wouldn't hire anybody that didn't have that mentality. You can't in a project. It's got to be, a group thing. You throw your idea in the hat, and then the rest of the guys pull the rabbit out.
Oh yeah, because a project really is just that. It's a project. It's all hands in the pot.
Exactly.
So well,
and you still got, and you also okay.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was.
You also got to be able to at the time say, no, that's stupid.
That's what I was actually going to interject. Is that you got to be able to say, like, hey, you know what? I don't know about this.
Exactly, and then everybody's got to be of the sort of mindset. Well, why do you think that? Well, because of this, and this. And oh, okay, well, I see what you're saying. Maybe you're right. And nobody can be too hardline about anything and be able to be criticized in a friendly way, of course.
Right, but you also got to be prepared to be overruled too. Just be like, oh darn it! All right, fine, I'll play it that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially working with Kelly Gray.
I'll be sure.
I love him to death.
I'll be sure to tag him in this on Facebook so he sees it.
There you go.
Well, Scott, I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I loved getting to know you, and you're awesome, and what a great job you're doing with Geoff, and I can't wait to see more and see what comes up in the future.
Well, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. It was fun.
All right, great. Well, look, we'll talk soon, and have a great rest of your tour.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Here is redundant. It's the same conclusion. The radical left has no power, and the right, no solution. No solution.